I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the for which it stands, one nation.
Thank you. On our agenda this evening, we do have our regular session with a couple of presentations and our reports, a couple of things in our business agenda, and then we have an executive session scheduled this evening. And we will start off with the consent calendar. This week, our consent calendar consists of the minutes of our meeting of March 15th, which seems forever ago.
We got a whole week off.
We had a whole week, whole 5-week months. I would entertain information about any corrections, additions, or a motion to approve as presented.
I would approve the consent calendar as presented. Move to approve. Yes.
Second that.
A motion, thank you, Councillor McKeel, and second, Councillor Carey. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 That's great, thank you. At this time, we have a room for public comments reserved for residents. Members to make public comment on items not on our agenda. And I am looking in the room and don't see anyone who is here to provide public comment. Phyllis, did we get any comments either by email or anyone indicating on this call?
With our local businesses and entrepreneurs and community economic developments, and so proud to call her a partner and be able to work with her. So she's going to share some information and updates on some of the things that she's been working on. And yeah, there'll be an opportunity for questions and comments at the end as well. So without further ado, here's Kate.
Good evening, mayors, councilors. Kate Swarzler, as Suzanne nicely mentioned, the executive director of Indie Idea Hub and also the owner of Indie Commons. So I wanted to share with you tonight some of the programs that we're working on because we are a Polk County-wide nonprofit, and so we are getting ready to roll out some business programs that are going to be including 4 of the major cities in Polk County. So we're partnering with Dallas, Falls City, Monmouth, and Independence on these programs, and we're really excited to be offering them. So just a quick recap, we are a 501c3. So again, this is Indie Idea Hub, the nonprofit that supports our business owners. And we are really wanting to work with our individuals and again, business owners to help them start, establish, and grow their businesses. So we started this work in 2018 through some Business Oregon grants, and we quickly determined that we wanted to, or we were searching for essentially a nonprofit that was operating here in the area that was specifically targeted and focused, and we didn't find one. So we went ahead and started our own, and thankfully have been seeing some success with getting grants. We started out just kind of quietly getting a few small grants here and there around 2019. And then when we incorporated, we were just able to take advantage of some growth opportunities, and we are now leading several grant efforts. And again, throughout Polk County and not just into Independence. So we are currently working with the Center on Rural Innovation. So we are one of their first community partners. They are actually based in Vermont. They're specifically looking at how to help rural communities excel and grow. And so we're really thankful for their support. We've been able to tag into some of their programs and get a lot of support, including a Vista, AmeriCorps Vista member that has been really beneficial for us. We have been working with Business Oregon for several years, the Ford Family Foundation, RDI, SEDCOR, Willamette Workforce Partnership. We have a current grant program going with them, and then again, the 4 cities. So we're developing a really comprehensive list of partners that have been very supportive of our work and that we're actively looking at ways that we can work together. We have also just recently given tours to the USDA and the EDA to look at some of their grant programs and again, how we can kind of recognize some or get some federal support for our programs, which would be great to longer runway than some of these other programs maybe are able to do. So currently I am the executive director. I'm part-time, but it was a big moment for us to get our first paid staff, which is always a great milestone to realize. And then we have Jenny Ma. She is an AmeriCorps Vista, who again is here sponsored by the Center on Rural Innovation. And we also have Karen Edsall. She is an AmeriCorps Rare through the University of Oregon, and we will be continuing with a Rare next year and potentially 2 Vistas next, also next year, or actually coming this coming fall is when they would restart their term. So it's a great help for us to be able to have that support and to be able to grow our programs. We also have a new food system, Lynn. She's going to be focused on building out some of our food systems. She started April 1st, so it's always a good day to start new employment. But we're really excited to be developing programs with her. So on the next page that I hopefully included in the handout to you, just a couple of our current projects. We are also in the first cohort of the Growing Rural Oregon, which is by the Ford Family Foundation. And we're working with how to build out our ecosystem, and it's a 5-year commitment. And so when we got into this program, we said we really need to involve Monmouth with that because our communities are so intertwined. So Suzanne, I know, is helping with that work, and we're really excited to see where that's going to go. We're in the first year of that program, but it's really looking at how do we map out and how do we understand what the opportunities are that we have here locally. And then we're going to be using the E2 framework with Network Kansas to really be building that out and looking at how we can have a more comprehensive and diligent look at being proactive about our economic development opportunities. We are working on the Rural Opportunity Initiative, and that's one where we're really going to be targeting our small business owners throughout Polk County. So we're going to be kicking that off in June. So coming right up, we've been doing a lot of behind the scenes work right now, and we're going to be working with our business owners to really understand community by community and Polk County wide where people are struggling and where people maybe are already doing, feeling comfortable, feeling confident, so that we can then help target our services more directly to filling those gaps. Right now, we're kind of doing a trial and error method in some cases of, we're going to try some social media classes. We'll try some financial literacy classes and see what takes. And by getting this survey data back and really working to do these intakes with the business owners, we're hopefully going to have a better understanding of where we should be putting our time and effort to helping our business owners grow. And then we will also be having a food specific overlay with that because our food industry, our food-based businesses have been really impacted throughout COVID, and it probably will never in some respects go back to some of the same ways. So we're really looking at how do we help people pivot their business model and maybe rethink how things. We do have a remote work experience, a digital skilling, and again, that's largely centered around the or work with the Center on Rural Innovation in Vermont, but we're looking at how do we get our talent here in the community? How do we get them connected to remote jobs, remote opportunities, so that they have access to an expanded career base? And then also, how do we tie people into digital jobs, remote or digital jobs that we have here in our community and help our business owners get ready for those? And through the Business Oregon Technical Assistance, another grant that we have in partnership with RDI, we are going to be adding a bilingual outreach person that is going to be specifically working with our Latino business owners and helping to make sure that we're getting services and access in place for our entire community of business owners. So we're very excited about that. And then we just wrapped this other one up, a food-based training that we do with RDI. And it was a Spanish language class for helping our food entrepreneurs start businesses. Our target was to have 8 to 10 people sign up for that class. They had 20. And then we have another waiting list of about 20 more people that are ready to take the class. So we are actively looking for funding to be working with that. We're also working with Suzanne on the NLC SourceLink ecosystem mapping project, which is great. It ties in really well with some of the work that we're doing with that. So we're excited to be continuing that. And then our next target, we're actively looking for funding to bring some youth entrepreneurship and youth coding projects to the community. So we've been busy. It's been great. We've been growing, and we're excited about the things that we're offering to our community, and wanted to, make sure that people knew what was coming down the line so that business owners can get connected to resources that they need.
Great. Any questions for Ms. Worsler?
No, I just wanted to comment on everything that you're doing. It's pretty fantastic. It's great that you're taking that diverse look at the community and also the remote positions. I had a remote intern at Chemeketa, single parent, no child care, couldn't afford that, but needed an experience. And so I think you'll find that you're hitting some populations that are struggling in different ways, and also giving them that experience. So I'm excited to learn more and to hear more about what you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
I am incredibly impressed about the scope of the work that you're undertaking, and also the concept of looking for something and finding that it doesn't exist. So building it to support the business community, I love. Is there a delimited geographical area that you work with, or are you just open and seeing what comes in? How does that work, or who's your business population that you're serving?
Right. So we are targeting Polk County. So that's loosely our boundaries. We're here to help people, and it is the theory that rising tides lifts all boats. And so the stronger our communities are interconnected together, we do business with each other, and that's how we want to help make sure that people can understand the importance of supporting our local business owners on multiple different levels, whether that's B2B or B2C. So Polk County, though, is really where our target is. And then we are working with resource partners outside of these areas. So we can't do it all. And we also don't want to replicate what somebody else is doing really well that's already serving this area. So we share back and forth. SBDC is a great example of a partner that we're wanting to have them have a bigger footprint here in the community, and how we can connect with them and how we can help support that. And so where it makes sense, we help funnel people to them, and vice versa, they'll funnel people to us. So it works really well in that sense.
And I'll just follow up on that. Obviously, with these rural focused grants, that does not necessarily include West Salem, Polk County, or does it?
Yeah, that's a little bit trickier. So some of the grants do have the rural focus to them. And so, correct, that wouldn't necessarily fall into that area. However, some of what we're building, so we're putting into place we call it the matrix just because we haven't come up with a better name for it. But we are building out a really comprehensive look at how do you connect people with business resources. So if I have a question as a business owner, we want sort of this one-stop shop that people can come to and say, oh, these are the people that are right in our area. If I have a question about a business plan or funding or, you know, how do I do HR? How do I hire my first employee? Who are the people that are operating here in this area that I can connect to? And so whether you're in West Salem or Dallas or frankly, Salem, it's not going to matter. We're happy to help people with that.
Thank you for all this. And I was glad to give cities working. More assets and we don't have, competing forces and duplicative services. If we can find a way to, and you're good at that. So if we can, and I think understanding, you're getting the message from this council, I think that
Have been instrumental in that. So with the youth entrepreneurship, we did actually write Western Oregon University into some of those grants in terms of providing some really good mentorship opportunities for students to be either mentoring high school students as they go through this program or working more directly with schools to provide support for our school districts. Recognizing that anytime we, ultimately these programs, a lot of them are modeled on their programs, modeled more on like an after school program. so that we're not having to kind of put that onus on a teacher to have to kind of run with that. And maybe that can transition in the future to be able to do something more like that. But at least initially, we want to get it started, get it up and running, and then work with the Western students to be able to provide that support, again, either to the students or to potentially to the schools.
Yeah, certainly great assets here, so lots to
Yeah.
leverage.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Really appreciate this report, and to your other venture, Indie Commons, happy 5-year
thank
anniversary
you.
of creating
Yeah.
co-work space.
Yeah, thank you for that. It feels like we had a time warp the last 2 years, so it's like, what is it, really 5 years already? Yeah,
Thanks
Thank
for all the work you do and the energy you bring to all of this, Kate, personally.
well, thank you so much. As always, I'm available. If people have questions or want a tour, just let me know. Happy to do that. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The other item on our business agenda this evening is regarding Edwards Edition Phase 9 Development Agreement, and Suzanne Hefner, our Community and Economic Development Director.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. And yes, we have before you an agreement for Edwards Edition Phase 9. This is similar to an agreement that we had for Phase 8. The developer, who is Eric Olson in this instance, is asking to enter into this agreement, which would allow him to defer some of the subdivision improvements so that he can get started on building the homes and start applying for building permits. So there is state law that was passed within the last few years that authorizes this. It's come to City Council, hence the agreement this evening for your review and approval. Most of the subdivision improvements in this case are actually completed. When this agreement was written, we still hadn't received the power utility costs. So you'll see those in there. That was about the $95,000 invoice estimate. So since this report's been written, that bill has been, so those will be removed from the final agreement that gets signed. But that leaves about 21,000, I think, in the landscape improvements and recording the plat costs. So most all of the other public infrastructure is in and ready to go. This allows them to kind of get that housing. There are terms spelled out in the development agreement that require the developer to host a financial guarantee so that in case the work is not completed by a certain time, then the city has the opportunity to step in and make sure that that work gets done at that developer's.
I know Hoffman Meadows had some issues with getting stop signs, but we were able to allow them to progress. So this is really good work and good, a good way to get things moving.
Agreed.
I guess, I don't know if this is the place for the question, but I'll ask it. So, and I'll wait for Mr. Shaw to say, don't say. Anyway, look at this development. Are there going to be lower income homes, affordable homes, starter homes in this development as we try to make those available?
So far on everything we put together. The density requirements that we worked through on some other phases. So we do have a triplex going in an older phase, some legacy lots that we're working on and supply. And so we have the ability to add an ADU to any of these lots that we build out in phase 9 and then future phases as well. We think the market's probably going to be driven back towards more affordable housing. So I can't say that there's going to be the cost of construction is going up. It's not getting any cheaper to build homes. So the things that we could have built as affordable homes last year are more expensive this year. It's surprising even to us what it's doing lately. So we're looking into how we can make it more affordable in the future. But to Suzanne's point, they're not starter homes when we do single family residences like this. But we are at Olson, we're committed to diverse housing. We think it's a great thing to strive for. So we're looking at it in the future for sure.
Yes.
I would move
the city manager to sign and enter into a development agreement for the Edwards in Phase 9 subdivision upon substantial completion of the required subdivision improvements.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Oberst for the motion and Councilor Lopez for the second. Are there any additional questions? Dorf has applied to join the Historic Commission. And Phyllis, we note she is from Salem. And so we're assuming that the Historic Commission has room for one non-Monmouth resident.
That is correct, Madam Mayor. That is correct.
But she grew up here and she is an oral historian and sent along a resume showing her other service in this area and is very excited to be a part of commemorating things in the community that she remembers growing up. So I would entertain a motion to appoint Alice Rudersdorf to the Historic Commission.
So moved.
Thank you.
I'll
Councilor
second. Oh, no, go
Thank
ahead.
you.
I will-
Councilor
I
Salinas
will give this
Oliveros.
to the historian person.
We'll allow Councilor Salinas Oliveros a second because that is her committee. So all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. And any opposed? Thank you very much.
We
We
gotta get
will.
her moved over here again.
We should get her moved over
The other
here.
way around.
Come back from Texas and move to Salem.
Yeah.
What's that all
That's good.
about?
Come on.
All right, and therefore, what reports do we have? What have our boards and commissions been up
Well, I will go.
to? Okay, Councilor McKeel.
Yes, I have a wonderful story about Arbor Day in Monmouth. So it all started on Thursday night, prior to April Fool's Day, no fooling. The tree board and spouses actually took 1,000 seedlings, separated them out, put them in plastic bags for kindergarten and first grade, because, they can't do that. And so that it was, and each teacher had their seedlings so that on the next day we could drop them off to the schools. We did Monmouth Elementary and Ash Creek Elementary. And we were able to hand off these bags for each of the classrooms with 20, 25 seedlings in each bag, and the kids were so excited. So Mr. Thurman has some photos. Hopefully they'll be up to the Facebook at some point. But then we had in the package with the seedling, Bartlett Tree Service gave us information sheets of what that seedling will turn into and how to care for it. And we also put a little card on there that says, and come to Arbor Day, because if you, couple of teachers said some kids won't have a yard, they'll have an apartment. And so we said, well, come to Arbor Day, you can get a pot and some dirt, and you can grow it in your house for quite a while, because trees grow slowly. And so on Saturday morning, we showed up at 9 o'clock and there were 3 kids there. And we were so excited, and it's like, so glad you were here. And I turned and got the shovel, and then there were 10 kids. And then when 15 kids came, I figured I better call my husband and ask him to bring another shovel. And then we eventually had probably 30 kids and 50 altogether. So kids, 50,
Wow.
One of the counts, and then there were still people coming. There was 51 people there with kids and parents and 3 dogs. And so it was probably the best. Actually, there was an old tree board member available. He came to the Arbor Day also, and he said they'd never seen that big of a crowd. So we did have kids dig the holes, which they actually did a really good job. And we put in 2 dogwoods, and Lori's fir tree finally has a home. So it'll be nice and big shade for that little hillside going into it was Madrona Park, going down to the soccer field. And we did have 6 kids planting seedlings because they really couldn't keep them at home. And it was so fun because the tree board was standing around afterwards. All the kids had left, and Well, sure enough, here's a family coming back to the park. The kid brought their parents back so they could see where the seedling was planted.
Oh,
Very good.
So the pressure is on. We now have to keep those seedlings alive.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Right.
told a story, one of the tree board members noted that when Portland had its World Fair many years ago, that the people there had a booth and they passed out monkey trees. And now if you go into Portland, there's monkey trees everywhere that are very large. And so we told that to the kids at each place. It's like now when you're adults and when you have kids or grandkids, you can drive around Monmouth and see all the trees that were planted. So it was really a fun Arbor Day.
Carol, we, in this town, had a 4th of July parade at some point long before I got here that involved sequoia seedlings. And there is a crop of sequoia in this town that date to that year. They're all substantial trees now. Same idea. Big trees. We've got probably, a dozen of them in our neighborhood, John?
Yeah.
At least, so. Good.
Yeah,
That's
good stuff.
great.
Great.
Really good
That's
stuff.
great. That's great.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
And Councilor Salinas Oliveros.
Well, Historic Commission meets here tomorrow at 6. And I don't know if you're ready for council comments or not, unless others have commissions to report on.
But we'll wait for council comments.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
And I just have one quick thing, the senior center. Typically when we walk in, there's a little clipboard and we sign in. The senior center has a proud history of tracking the number of people who've been here because it's not just a senior center, it's also a community center. They like to know how many folks have been in the building. Tonight, if you noticed, there is a computer and a stack of forms, member registration forms. This is for entry into their new system, which will also allow electronic check-in, but also will keep a lot of membership information. It'll make it much easier to do their mailing lists and things. And this system, because we need to be much more electronic, was funded by our city ARPA funds. This was one of the priorities we came up with. So a reminder, there is no cost to be a member of this senior and community center. A lot of folks here are members of the Friends of the Monmouth Senior Center. They do have a small membership fee, sort of our fundraising arm, but to actually be a member of the Monmouth Senior Community Center, there is no fee. But by signing up as a member, you will get information, given a little key tag where you can just touchlessly enter to get in and track how many folks we have. So you're welcome to fill these out, leave them on the table tonight, or slip them in the office. And I'm going to do that, and hopefully some of you will too. But it'll be a great new tool for them to use in a variety of ways. Other boards and commissions. Councilor Carey.
Planning Commission meets tomorrow, tomorrow evening, and that's virtually, and I think there's also a presence here at 7. And the agenda item there is a new building being design review on a building to be at Ash Creek Station over here, Walgreens Pharmacy. Will be kind of a drive-through deal, different model for them. But so anyway, that will be considered. And if there's anything to report, you'll hear it in the next report from me. And if you'd like to weigh in on that, look in on that, either attend, hang around, Rebecca, it's right after you, or online, the agenda is on the city website if you'd like to drop in virtually.
Nice.
Thank you.
I lost my notebook earlier today, which had all my notes, so I will defer tonight. But thank you.
I have two very quick little things.
Okay.
Every year, the Parks and Rec Board gives out grants to folks who are proposing activities in our parks. We have 6 applications. Those will be reviewed by members of the board, and those who have put the proposals forward will have an opportunity to present at the April 13th Parks Board meeting, 6 o'clock at the Public Works Building or online, I believe. These range everything from the Easter egg hunt to sip and paint to youth track and field. We've got quite a variety of proposed activities here. So it'll be interesting to see how those shake out. The other one, those of you who are members of the Friends of the Library and get the newsletter, the Friends have a book sale. They bring in used books. They sort used books. They have historically used a small closet at the library. The library needs their closet. The Friends bought a small portable shed, which has gone on to the land just by the parking lot. But before it can hold books, it needs to be insulated and sheetrocked and wired and all that good stuff. I've been hanging insulation this week. So that's coming along. It's a nice little project. I'm looking forward to continuing work on it.
Great. Thank you.
Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
good job. Any others?
Yeah, you're right. Can't do this over Zoom.
Steve? Speaking of being in person, just so you know, I think we are close to being able to say that future meetings of both the council and the planning commission, we're actually in partnership with the Central School District, looking at moving meetings to the Ash Creek Annex. It was a former church on the corner of 16th and Hoffman. And there is a very large space. It has a little better acoustics than here because with the air filter going, we can't really hear what people are saying, even though they're sitting right at that table, but also gives us a little more opportunity to space out. And if we have community members who want to come more than 3 or 4, there is additional seating. So be announcing that officially soon, but to let you know that out. And it will be a space that we can continue to use for council and planning. That doesn't have to be completely set up and take down every day for our staff. So
Good.
yeah,
Great.
one big space the school district has in the city limits of Monmouth. The superintendent's like, well, you can just use the district office. I'm like, well, there's one small problem. Alrighty, so if there is nothing else from us, we will turn it over to Marty Wine, our city manager, for her report.
Thanks, Mayor and Council. Let's see, I'm going to repeat some of the things that I put in Friday notes last week just for everybody's edification. Some of it's already been mentioned, but one of the things that you were talking about was our park and recreation grants. And on the grants front, I wanted to mention 2 things that relate to parks and recreation and grants. One is I want to acknowledge the hard work of our community economic development and our public works staff who put together our Oregon Parks and Recreation, our large grant application for the Monmouth Recreation Park and Skate Park, which was due last week. And so that is it's meant to supplement the funding that we're going to receive for the skate park. And so that's an application that we sent in last week, and it takes a lot of work to put these together. So I just wanted to mention that that's in. One of the other partnerships we're working on related to grants is that we were asked by the City of Independence to partner together with them to create a grant program using our American Rescue Plan, our ARPA funding, to provide out-of-school recreation programming for youth, K-12 youth that reside within Central School District boundaries. So the City of Independence is managing that grant application process, which is open now. And I'll send out links to how our local nonprofits are going to be able to apply for those recreation grants. let's see, one of the themes that you might have noticed in our Friday notes is that we have some turnover and vacancies happening in departments. Notably, our, our police department has had an active recruitment for officer and also sergeant positions. And also in our power and light department, our lineman, our energy services coordinator, we have a couple of positions open and we're hiring, and that theme is going to continue with the likelihood for some openings coming up in the library. And you'll hear about this more when we start the budget process. But I just want to note that that's another, when it's not ever easy to experience turnover and have vacancies, but we're working on trying to fill jobs just like every other organization out there. One of the things I mentioned in last week's notes is that we've put in our order for trolleys. So you might remember that we were granted $3 million by our state representative and state senator and Monmouth is the grantee, but we're partnering together with City of Independence and Western Oregon University to do a pilot project for a trolley transit service here in Monmouth Independence. And we've developed a service plan, and it feels real, right? When you know that vehicles are on order. And I'll share some more with you about some of the service plan, which includes the route and the potential timeline for starting that service, which we're hopeful will be later in the fall. Let's see. So that's been kind of a fun thing. You'll have noticed also that the water division in our public works department, they've been working and coordinating with the contractor at Monmouth Commons. And so the final water main line connections were made. And so for all of you wondering what's going on with Main Street and Warren Street and trenching and overlays, finishing those projects will make being able to finish our streets here in the downtown possible. ODOT has a requirement that the paving and surfacing of those roads will only happen at a certain time of year. So we're coming up on that time, and the completion of those projects will make hopefully those improvements possible too. Let's see. The only other thing I'll mention, and I did put this in my Friday notes also, is that we've had a staff transition on our City Hall project, and we were very happy this week to start meeting with Randy Isaac, who is our new owner's representative from the company called OTAC. And so we're glad that we've got a construction manager aboard, and once again, getting the construction team coordinated to get our City Hall project done. So again, it's never easy to have a slight delay or disruption because of turnover, but we're happy that we've got our full team going here. I think that's all I've got for tonight. And I'm always open to questions if there are things that you're curious about.
So how are the trolleys powered?
The trolleys are hybrid electric vehicles. And so I think that, our sponsors of this project were wishing that we would purchase an electric fleet, but both for cost and long lead time reasons, what we were able to do is secure a chassis which is a hybrid vehicle, and the company building the trolleys, called Hometown Trolley, is going to upfit those hybrid chassis with the trolley body style. And so they're hybrid electric trolleys.
Very much.
Thanks for asking. Thank you.
All right, and that brings us to council comments for this evening. And then after that, we will go into executive session. I will announce that now, just for preparation, that when we do meet in executive session, it will be for the purpose of discussing labor negotiator consultations held pursuant to ORS 192-662D, labor negotiator consultations, which allows the council to meet in executive session. Designated to attend the executive session, all other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of executive session, we will return to the open session and welcome the audience back into the room. It is not anticipated that action will be taken this evening after returning from executive session. So that moves us to council comments. And so Councilor Salinas Oliveros.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I just want to acknowledge the Hispanic Servant Institution, the emerging that Western Oregon University. They had a HSI summit on Friday. And I do want to thank Ms. Duffner, who we met earlier in the week with the Western student for the Historic Commission, and she let me know about the panel, the community panel that was happening, and graciously gave up her seat so that I may be there. So thank you for that. And it was a really wonderful opportunity, meeting some really great leaders all over Oregon that had great advice for Western and really ways that that we as a city can partner with Western to really making sure that every student is welcomed, that our community reflects those who live here. And just it's really an amazing opportunity. And I encourage everyone to learn more about what it means to be a Hispanic serving institution. And I hope that that alleviates any type of doubt that people may have. So please take the time to learn. But I'm really grateful for Western and very honored that our community is going to be a Hispanic serving institution. So thank you.
Or as Western likes to say, in Hispanic Success Institute.
Hispanic success.
That's the
yes.
real goal.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. I was going to mention that, and that you were on the panel, and I've heard great things from people who may not even know I know you. So that was, thank you for representing the community.
Thank you.
And it is an investment by Western and something that we can invest in as a city to make sure we are growing together in that regard. So thank you.
Yes, and I do want to mention that Councillor McKeel and Councillor Carey were also in attendance and listening, and I'm sure have some great ideas as well. So thank you.
Other comments? Well, I have one, and because he's in the room, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge Chuck. Chuck is officially sort of retired as our superintendent of our Power and Light department. And although we've been fortunate enough to lure him back for a while, delaying his move to a really charming, idyllic island in Washington in the San Juans, where he's going to boat and live
invite
in
us
the
all
woods.
over.
Yeah. So I cannot say enough about how much I appreciate Chuck for the work he's done, the way he has communicated with us in the community, the team he has built at Power and Light, except the ones who are leaving us, the great people with an incredible customer service ethic, and who do amazing work for us. We're very fortunate to have our Power and Light utility. We're very fortunate that Chuck has led us for these last, I don't know how many years, because I was on the interview panel that hired him. But it will be a loss to us to have Chuck leave. And since you're here, I just really wanted to thank you personally, and I'm sure on behalf of all of us, and for you and your team. So thank you.
Yeah.
When I was interviewing, I made the statement that it takes a village, and this is the best village to be in. Have all the processes. You've got a great group of pulling it all together. Didn't just one. But thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chuck.
All right. Yes, Councilor McKeel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just have a quick announcement. Save the date for May 12th, 3 p.m. The Hammersley Library has contracted with Dr. Walida Imarisha from Portland State University, who is a scholar in Oregon history. She's going to be working with faculty and classes during the day, but she'll have a 3 p.m. Zoom presentation. So watch it'll be in Monmouth Notes. We should have had it in the city The dean of the library is going to put that in the notes, so you should be able to see that in the Monmouth newsletter. Also, save the date, May 14th and 21st. Those are both Saturdays from 10 to 11:30. We will have presentations for Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. We'll have some interesting speakers. It will also be over Zoom. And you should be able to see those notes also in the city newsletter.
Great. Thank you very much. Also, Western has announced the hiring of their new executive director of diversity, equity, inclusion, and access, a woman named Dominique Vargas, who will be joining campus soon. And so looking forward to having someone else on campus who will be working